Hey, tonight on Red Eye.
Coming up on Red Eye, what presidents should be honored on President's Day? The new study shows Americans pick Palmer, Marshall, and Beck. And what happens to spaghetti as it nears the center of a black hole? The segment gets stretched too thin. Next. And finally, is the vice president upset that he blew his life savings on Candy Crush?
If I hear one more time, I don't have enough money to pay my electric bill, I'm going to strangle somebody. I'm not joking.
None of these stories on Red Eye tonight.
And now, let's welcome our guests. Well, like a urine sample, she's hot and in glasses. I'm here tonight with National Review reporter Katherine Timpf. Well, she was Miss New York. Now she's just a girl who keeps telling you she was Miss New York. Yes, it's all downhill for Joanne. Aging quickly, no Sachinsky. And he's the answer to the trivia question, what do you get if you cross no personality with a really ugly sweater? It's TV's Andy Levy. Yeah. And like a vending machine, you just pull his knob and he'll offer you chuckles. It's writer and comedian Joe Randazzo. He's the former editor of The Onion.
A-Block. The lead. That's the first story.
Danish police killed a man after he randomly shot up a free speech event in Copenhagen and then randomly attacked a synagogue on Saturday. The Associated Press randomly identified the man as a 22-year-old Omar Abdul Hamid El Hussein, probably Cuban, and Danish authorities say he has a history of gang violence and may have been inspired by the Charlie Hebdo massacre. But as always, the motives are unclear. What a picture.
I could hear the gunshots approaching, so I thought the gunman must be already in the building. I could hear Arabic and the shouts, Allahu Akbar.
Meanwhile, in completely unrelated news, ISIS released video showing the random beheadings of 21 Christian Egyptians, sparking a wave of Egyptian airstrikes against ISIS locations in Libya. And former NBA great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar appeared on something called Morning Joe, which I believe is a sex act, where he explained that groups that use religion to justify their horrific actions shouldn't be seen as true representatives of that religion.
You can make parallels to things that have happened here in America, like the Ku Klux Klan saying that they are the Christian Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, and they do not practice Christianity.
Right.
Any of us are familiar with.
All right, Joe. Who knew that in 2015 the riskiest job in the world is cartoonist? Are you glad to be out of The Onion?
I'm glad to be out of the cartooning game.
Yes, yes.
Exactly. I mean, for years I was going after the Kathy artist.
Yes.
She was always my personal vendetta. But I think somebody did wind up chopping her head off.
Kathy Gwissite?
I don't know what her name was. I never bothered to learn her name. Call her the Ack Lady.
You know what? I kind of liked her, but I was more of a fan of For Better or Worse.
Oh, yeah?
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was good. She always had a weird boyfriend.
Yeah, I think that was one of the ones that I did not read, like Prince Valiant and Apartment 4H or whatever,
Yes.
the like boring ones.
Yeah, those were better. The Mary Worth. It was in the Mary Worth ghetto.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Yes. Slightly below Funky Winkerbean. We have gone off the rails on this. I want to ask you, though, how does the West deal with these attacks on free speech? How do we deal with ISIS? Because it always seems like it's so far away that we really don't care.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the answer for an attack on free speech is just always more free speech. Mm-hmm. If you allow it to sort of impinge upon what you think you can joke about or talk about, then I think the message that they're trying to send comes in loud and clear.
Fair point. Catherine, thoughts on this? It looks like evil had a great weekend.
Right, well, it's just a bunch of random people attacking random things, kind of like how Hitler randomly killed all those random people in the Holocaust. Is so crazy. No, this basketball player, right, saying it's not about religion, it's about them trying to get money and power. And then he talks about 9/11. Does he not realize that the 9/11 attackers don't have any money or power because they blew themselves up? It's like, use context clues, people. I don't know if they learned about context clues in, like, 2nd grade.
Yeah.
But that's what those are for. So that might be able to help people figure it out a little bit.
I did not learn about context.
Context clues? To learn to read?
No.
I never learned how
How old? I was born in 1964.
Context
Yeah.
clues? So if there's a word around it. And...
Man.
I know that's old. But I look so youthful, don't I? It's a lot of the
you look great.
I do a lot of exercise, facial exercises, Joanne. What's going on with your face? Jono, what do you make of Kareem's thoughts? Do you agree with Catherine?
I still just, how, he wrote a children's book?
Yes, he did.
I'm still trying to get over that.
Everybody writes a children's book. It's part of your life.
I think he was on Morning Joe to talk about his children's
talking about the KKK.
And somehow he gets into this discussion, so the parents who are watching are now confused. The one bright spot in this tragic event, if there even is one, is the fact that after the shooting happened during this free speech event, a bunch of them continued their discussion. You know, because if they don't, then the terrorists win. Like you said, like more free speech is the best way to combat this. So I do think that there are some people who will continue to do what they're doing and express those freedoms, and that's awesome.
It is awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
Andy, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said the only solution at this point is mass migration to Israel.
Yeah.
When are you leaving?
I know you'd like that, wouldn't you?
Finally.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, Netanyahu, or Bibi, as I call him,
Yes.
he's in the middle of a political campaign. I think what he said was mostly for internal consumption in Israel. That said, the subject has been coming up at the meetings lately.
Right.
And it hasn't for a long time. So, you know, it's something we haven't seen in a while. But look, there's a fine line between needlessly panicking and remembering history. And I think people are going to draw that line in different places. If I lived in Europe, I don't know. I might be thinking about getting out because last time the people that didn't get out at the beginning didn't get out at all.
Right.
But you just kind of hope that that's not what's happening.
Big move, though. It's a big move.
It is. I mean, you gotta pack bags.
Gotta
and
change schools.
Flights are not cheap these days. Maybe you take a steamship. I don't know.
I've coined a new phrase that I'd like to use here tonight that I used here earlier. I think America suffers from ocean privilege. The fact that we feel that we are not threatened because we are impervious. We're surrounded by oceans. We have ocean privilege. So we look at this stuff and we know that these hordes aren't going to come near us, whereas they're 300 miles from Italy at this point, right? I read that.
I thought it was 500.
Well, it might be 500, but I think it might be 300. My point is, it's not our concern because it hasn't come in since 9/11. It's not coming.
Right.
We're not watching them come at us. And I think that's wrong. And the fundamental question, Andy, that the Atlantic Monthly raised, which I think is important, is how do you fight an enemy that wants total obliteration?
You give them what they want.
That's a good answer.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, all right. There you go.